You're about to discover something that'll blow your mind. Songs that absolutely tanked when they first dropped, but somehow clawed their way back from the dead to become global anthems. We're talking epic resurrections that made record labels look like complete idiots. Let's expose the biggest comeback stories in rock history. Alright, what do you say about a song that flopped twice before becoming iconic? Take On Me was originally released in October 1984 with producer Tony Mansfield. It peaked at number 3 in Norway and absolutely bombed everywhere else, dead on arrival. So the band a-ha re-recorded it with Alan Tarney and released it again in early 1985. Second flop. The UK wouldn't touch it. Third time's the charm? Warner Bros. Threw serious money at that revolutionary rotoscoped video. 3,000 hand-drawn frames taking 16 weeks to complete. They released it ahead of the record to build hype. MTV went absolutely insane for it. October 1985, it hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. In the UK, it peaked at number 2, blocked only by Jennifer Rush. A song that failed twice became one of the most iconic pop rock tracks ever recorded, all because they refused to give up and made a video nobody could ignore. Next up is Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, which peaked at number 30 in the US and number 3 in the UK back in 1985. Respectable, sure, but nothing earth-shaking, you know? Outside hardcore Kate Bush fans, this song practically vanished. Then 2022 happens, and Stranger Things Season 4 makes it the emotional centerpiece of Max's survival story. What happened next was bonkers. The song hit number 1 in the UK 37 years after its release, breaking 3 Guinness World Records in the process. It became Kate Bush's longest gap between number 1s, 44 years since Wuthering Heights. In the US, it finally cracked the top 10 for the first time ever, hitting number 3. An 8,700% increase in streaming in one weekend. The song took 36 years and 310 days to hit number 1, the longest climb in chart history. A forgotten 80s track became a multi-generational phenomenon because a fictional character needed saving. Here's something wild. Slash literally hated Sweet Child of Mine and wanted it cut from Appetite for Destruction. He thought the riff was a circus joke. Too sentimental, too pop. Axl Rose called it outdated. The label had zero faith in it as a single. They almost left rock's most iconic riff on the cutting room floor because it didn't fit their image. Released anyway as the 3rd single in June 1988, radio programmers were hesitant because of the band's controversial reputation. It entered the Hot 100 at number 76. Then MTV couldn't stop playing the video. By September 1988, it hit number 1 for 2 weeks. Guns N' Roses' only number 1 single ever. That throwaway track they almost deleted became the most recognizable rock riff of all time. Every wannabe guitarist on earth knows those opening notes. The song Slash Wanted Gone became his legacy. The irony is absolutely delicious. Where do we go now? Where do we go? A singer in a smoky room. Smell of wine and cheap perfume. All right, let's continue with the king of all comebacks. Don't Stop Believin' peaked at number 9 in 1981. Yeah, number 9. And couldn't even beat out Open Arms as Journey's biggest hit. Can you believe that? The song just kind of faded away, right? Fast forward to 2007, and The Sopranos slaps it into their legendary finale. Then Glee obliterates it everywhere in 2009. Suddenly, everyone's discovering this new Journey song from nearly 30 years ago. Here's the kicker. By 2012, it became the best-selling digital track from the entire 20th century. 7 million downloads. The Library of Congress literally preserved it as culturally significant in 2022. A song that couldn't crack the top 5 became the most downloaded. Classic rock song ever. Journey watched their failure become immortal while they were touring county fairs. The ultimate I told you so moment that took 3 decades to arrive.
Don't stop believing. I stopped an old man along the way, hoping to find some.
Let's talk about Africa. Released in October 1982, it hit number 1 in February 1983, so technically it was a hit, right? But here's the thing. The band called it dumb and an experiment during recording. Steve Lukather said they considered cutting it entirely from Toto 4 because they were tired of working on it. The lyrics, David Paich described them as goofy placeholders. Nobody expected anything from this throwaway track. Fast forward decades, and Africa becomes a cultural obsession. Over 1 billion Spotify streams by 2021. Over 1 billion YouTube views by 2024.
There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do.
Weezer covered it in 2018 because a 14-year-old girl wouldn't stop tweeting at them. Someone installed a permanent sound system in the Namib Desert to play it on loop forever. The song Toto, almost deleted, became meme-proof, generation-proof, and basically immortal. It outlived its haters and became bigger than the band itself.
It's down in Africa. I bless the rain. Here I go again on my own.
Next up is one of the most dramatic transformations in rock history. Here I Go Again was originally released on Whitesnake's 1982 Saints and Sinners album, a bluesy, gospel organ-driven track that peaked at number 34 in the UK and didn't chart at all in America. Total failure. David Coverdale wasn't even happy with it. The label barely promoted it. 5 years later, David Geffen makes a deal, recut Here I Go Again, and you can re-record Crying in the Rain. Coverdale agreed reluctantly. They completely reworked it. New lineup, glossier production, soaring synths. That Tawny Katayan video with the Jaguars. The 1987 radio remix featured entirely different session musicians.
Like a drifter, I was born to walk along.
October 1987, it hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Whitesnake's first and only number 1 hit came from a song that failed 5 years earlier. The 87 version sold 8 million copies and defined hair metal. Sometimes you need a complete do-over.
I ain't wasting no more time. Living like a bomb, baby, come and get it on. Living like a lover with a radar phone.
Can we agree that Pour Some Sugar on Me is hair metal's national anthem? Well, it almost didn't exist. The song was literally the last track added to Hysteria. Joe Elliott was goofing around on acoustic guitar during a break in December 1986, just messing with a riff. Producer Mutt Lange overheard it and said, "Oh, what is that?" The label didn't even want it. They told Mutt they couldn't delay the album any longer. Mutt fought for 2 weeks to finish it. Meanwhile, Hysteria had cost $5 million to make and needed to sell 5 million copies just to break even. It wasn't happening. Then Pour Some Sugar on Me dropped as the 4th U.S. single in April 1988. It exploded to number 2, driven by MTV and, get this, strip club requests. The album shot back up the charts, eventually selling 12 million copies in the U.S. alone. The throwaway track saved the entire album.
Every breath you take, and every move you make.
Now, Every Breath You Take is one of the most played songs in radio history. But here's what nobody tells you. Radio stations were initially hesitant. The creepy stalker vibe made programmers uncomfortable. and audiences completely misunderstood it. People thought it was romantic. It's absolutely not. Sting was writing about surveillance and obsession. The misinterpretation almost killed its chances. But once it hit big.
Can't you see? You belong to me.
Number 1 for 8 weeks in 1983. Sold over 1 million copies. Won Song of the Year and Best Pop Performance at the Grammys. Despite the initial confusion, it became one of the most played songs in broadcasting history. Estimated 15 million radio plays by the early 2000s. The song's dark undertones kept it from immediate acceptance, but its hypnotic bass line and Sting's delivery made it unstoppable. Sometimes being misunderstood is exactly what makes you immortal. Radio couldn't stop playing their love song, even though it's basically about a stalker.
Step you take, every move you make, we're leaving together, but still it's fair.
All right, next up, The Final Countdown by Europe. When this dropped, in 1986, critics hated it. Fellow rock bands openly mocked it. Too cheesy, too bombastic, too synth-heavy for serious rock fans. The keyboard riff was seen as a joke, a novelty at best. Europe was dismissed as one-hit wonder material before they even got started. But you know what? That song became inescapable. Hit number 1 in 25 countries. Sold over 15 million copies worldwide.
That's right, Sweden rock!
Those 5 opening synth notes are now the most recognizable intro in arena rock history. Every sporting event, every countdown moment, every dramatic TV reveal. Boom, there it is. The keyboard line critics mocked became iconic. Sports arenas worldwide blast it before big games. It's been in countless movies and TV shows. The song everyone made fun of became the ultimate hype track. Sometimes being cheesy is exactly what the world needs. Europe got the last laugh.
The final countdown. Behind is good, so good.
Let's close with Just Like Honey by the Jesus and Mary Chain. This 1985 track from Psycho Candy barely registered on release. No mainstream chart impact, 0 commercial success. It was an album deep cut from a noisy Scottish band most people had never heard of. Outside indie circles, it was completely invisible. You know, right? Decades later, it became one of the most licensed songs in indie rock.
For you, eating up this young.
Sofia Coppola used it to close Lost in translation in 2003, and suddenly everyone wanted it. Film after film, TV show after TV show. That dreamy outro became the go-to bittersweet ending soundtrack. It's now considered sacred among indie rock fans and filmmakers. Critics retroactively called it one of the greatest album closers ever. A song that nobody noticed in the 80s became emotionally untouchable 20 years later. Sometimes being ahead of your time means waiting for the world to catch up. So, there you have it. 10 songs that tanked, got ignored, or nearly got deleted, only to become absolute legends years or decades later. Record labels were wrong. Critics were wrong. Sometimes the best songs need time to find their moment. Drop your favorite comeback story in the comments below.
There's nothing